buy this land are increasing. And so when you compare the land with the population, then you can see where the demand comes from. Because the land is not increasing, but people are increasing. And therefore then, as we continue, like for instance, now in Kenya, we are around 42, 45 million mark. But it is projected in the next, by 2045, to be around 60 million. And you can see our land, which is 583 square approximately, thousand, is not going to increase. It's still the same. Wow. And therefore, then, land will always be a hot topic, and it will always be on demand.
Mind-blowing statistics there, Phyllis. And looking at Kenya's landscape, perhaps we've seen specific areas being among the radar for buyers, the likes of Karen, Kitisuru, and all of a sudden other outer cities are also becoming quite the hot cakes where people are buying land, the likes of Ruaka, Thika, Kitengela, Ngong. All these areas are opening up. What's driving that increasing appetite for land, Phyllis?
What is happening is, as the government projects the Vision 2030 and builds infrastructure around all these outer parts of town, then it means we open up these areas. And therefore people are realizing that you don't have to live in Nairobi CBD or in its environs to be able to access Nairobi, because now we're opening up railways, we're opening up roads, we're opening up bypasses, and hence people can be able to live more comfortably out of Nairobi and still be able to come to the CBD comfortably. Yes, and therefore then the infrastructure is driving this, and people's awareness that they can actually live out there and still be able to...
Actually, what you're saying is true, because if you look at the trends we've seen in people buying land, areas like Rongai were actually purely just a bush area. Right now, developments have happened. Talk about, Nairobi is opening up, going to the outside area. Of course, the other question I'd want to get from you, how cheap is land? Because as much as we are seeing people demanding for land, there's that other element of the cost of land. Is it overpriced if you look at the Kenyan market?
I don't think the question of pricing and overpricing is a matter here. What is driving it is a demand. And therefore then, willing buyer, willing seller. And what we realized as a company is that there is a lot of demand for land, but the problem was the affordability of this land. And that is what caused us to design the products that we have for our company, to be able to cater for the other niche of people who wanted or aspired to own land, but they were not able to because of the budgetary constraints of buying the land. Yes.
Of course, for most Kenyans, they would want to own a piece of land, but there's the challenge of actually getting to verify that land is genuine. The other thing is paying for it, and of course, eventually getting the title deed. Just describe for us, how is the case right now? Are we seeing some improvements around this?
What there is, there were statistics that I was talking to a land expert who was saying that 90% of land sellers are actually fake, but 10% are the genuine ones.
Wow.
So what we realize is people are actually wanting to buy this land, both in Kenya and in diaspora, but they're so scared of who to trust to be able to obtain this land. And therefore then, yes, there exist genuine people, but there also exists people that need to be watchful for. Yes.
Of course, the president last year around November did order that the registration of land buying companies be put on hold, because a lot of people were filing cases in court of being duped of buying land, yet it was perhaps on a road reserve or it was government land, like what we saw just a few years back in Syokimau. People had put up palatial homes, and all this were gutted down and brought down for the fact that the land was contestable. Moving forward, what are some of the key things you'd like to see when it comes to land transactions?
First of all, what I'd like to do is to differentiate between what land buying companies are and private companies that buy and sell land. Land buying companies are companies that simply come together, get members who put in money in the kitty, and this money is actually used to purchase land.
Yeah.
And this company then would go ahead and subdivide the land and then issue it out to the members in proportion to the amount that they've invested in the company. And so what there was a lot of these land buying companies were coming up. Some were genuine, and some you've seen what has happened, a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
It's because people put in money and they expected a return of the land, but they didn't get it. And of course, people got really offended.
Yeah, which has also actually made people to be a bit jittery.
Yes.
Because if you look at what happened with the Kihumwiri,
yes,
we also saw people being left, their families are in depression.
Yes.
Because they can't just believe all their savings have been wiped out.
That's true.
We also saw the case around Mlolongo and in Syokimau,
yes,
the Mlolongo Brothers Company.
Yes.
Yeah. Back to your point.
Yes. So private companies that buy and sell land do a different job. They actually own the land and then subdivide it and sell it to buyers, to willing buyers, the willing buyers, as opposed to the land buying companies. But again, what I've noticed also over time is there's the issue of doing due diligence on the land that people are buying. There are people who do due diligence, others do due diligence on a very shallow basis, and later they come to realize that where they were buying were actually, you know, areas for proposed road. And the other thing that comes into play is the corruption.
Yeah.
You see, if going forward, what we would like to see is the computerization of land registries.
Oh, yes.
Because with that, you'll be able to see where there's a bypass, where there's a proposed, you know, all this would be out in the blueprint, as opposed to you going in and being promised that this place is safe and okay. And of course, these people who are doing it is because they want to go ahead and get some money out of you. But yes, going forward, what would help is the computerization of the registries. Yes, to be able to do a proper search on this land.
Yeah, actually I saw an advert in the dailies today that they've actually done it.
Yes.
So we hope to see whether it will bear some good tidings for land buyers.
Yes.
Perhaps, Phyllis, one of the other biggest concerns has been that at the Ministry of Lands, allegations of cartel-like groupings, where people come together, they say, okay, we've heard this land is up for sale. They make fake documents, you know, and eventually someone comes, they verify, they see, wow, everything is in place. But the moment they've paid for the land, they start perhaps putting a fence, they get ejected, and they're like, hey, we have the title of this place, but all of a sudden it's not your area. How can people, what advice can you give to people who want to buy land on how do you go about due diligence? What do you need to know when you're buying land?
Okay. I'll talk on behalf of my company because I know what we actually do.
That's okay.
I can't speak on behalf of other people who I don't understand the process. What we actually do, we go and actually vet the sellers. We do our due diligence by doing search, and we do independent searches as many as 3 times. We do go ahead and buy land from private individuals. We don't go to communal land because that has a lot of issues as well that comes into grasp with this title ownership issues. So we do go to a private family. We ensure that we meet the person who's actually selling, who's the head of the family, and we make sure we meet the rest of the family, and we make sure they're happy to know that the land is being sold to us so that there'll not be any future problems. And so we form friendships with our sellers, and that helps us a lot. And go ahead and fence off the land that we buy so that in case there's any problem with any of our neighbors, the boundary issues, then they'll stem up at the beginning and not later. And so those are the processes we put in place for us as a private company.
Is it advisable for someone to bring in an expert like a lawyer or a surveyor? How important are they? For example, let's say personally, I as Abby, I'm interested in buying some piece of land in somewhere in Siaya. Yeah, and what are some of the tips you'd give a viewer on how to go about it?
Definitely for us, we encourage all our buyers to have a lawyer. For our company, we have contracted Sichangi advocates. Sichangi Partners are a big law firm, and they are very specialized in conveyancing issues, and therefore their work is very thorough. So what we do is all our clients have to go through Sichangi to be able to be talked to the whole process and to be able to sign proper contracts that are enforceable by law. So what I would urge buyers is to make sure they do have a lawyer, they do have an agreement between the buyer and the seller that is clear.
A sale agreement.
Sale agreement is very important, and especially if you're buying a land also in the certificate stage. You need
what
to
do you
be
mean by certificate stage? Break it down for us.
Okay, there's some you pay in 10 equal monthly installments. It'll only be 8,000 a month. So, and then the rest of the balance will come in at the end of the 2-year bracket.
Okay.
So we realized that a lot of Kenyans or people who would aspire to own land, it made it very easy for them to go ahead and start controlling the land, and eventually, after they pay us everything, it's at that point that they get the title. And to start with, people are very, you know, and it was a very unique product and very good. In fact, some people said it was very good to be true, but now people are really catching up. And our market is Kenyans in Kenya and Kenyans in diaspora.
Okay.
So what we realized also, Kenyans in diaspora want to invest back home, but they don't know who they're going to use because they've been conned a lot of times by their own siblings, their own family, or even agents, you know. And so we saw there was a need to stand in the gap between the diaspora clients and Kenyans in Kenya to be able to be a genuine land selling company, and to be able to structure our products to be very affordable to the local mwananchi. When that is achieved, we're trying to also pitch into the Vision 2030 social pillar, economic pillar. How do we achieve a social pillar? We want to be a social cohesive community. You can't be a cohesive community if there are people who are living in abject poverty. And so that's part of our contribution back to Kenya. And also in the economic pillar, it's wealth creation opportunity by you being able to eventually acquire this land and being able to do, even if it's agribusiness or build up structures, you'll be able to acquire some wealth out of it. And so that is how we came into being. Interesting
model.
Yes.
And final question, of course, is actually a lot of feedback coming in.
Yes.
And one of the questions being asked by Raul, who is also watching us, he's keen on knowing what areas do you have this kind of land? And on average, how much are they going for?
Okay, we have this project, or this product is called Chanuka. So what it means is style up and join us, you know. So Chanuka, we have Namanga and we have Isinya. Isinya is, we're on our 3rd phase. We've done 2 projects that are already fully sold out, and now we're on our 3rd one. Namanga is the 4th one.
Okay.
So Namanga is 350, deposit of 80,000. And the rest of the money is payable by March 2017. Namanga has been in existence for 6 months, and then that's why it's 15 months bracket now to the completion date. But the Isinya one is 23 months. You pay a deposit of 110,000. Again, you pay in 10 equal monthly installments of 11,000. And then the remaining balance is payable in December 2017. And so it gives you a chance to be able to draw from your savings and not necessarily ask for a bank loan. And so you save on the interest element on it. Most important with the product, once you start paying the first installment, then we stick. The purchase price is fixed, such that even if 2017 this piece of land is valued, market value is 700 or 800, will only be obliged to pay, you pay the 350, the purchase price. That's when the purchase price and the market price comes into play. So for all the people who are buying our products, they're assured of equity at the end of it. So when you compare to putting that money in the bank and putting it in any other investment and putting it in the land, then you can see it's a win when you put it in land, because the return is amazing. Yes.
Perfect place to end that interesting conversation there. Phyllis Gedura, many thanks for joining us on KTN. And we do hope you'll be coming in future. Interesting there, just understanding what happens when it comes to purchase of land and what it means when it comes to appreciation. Land has been actually classified as one of the fastest growing asset classes, delivering more than 20% returns on your investment. So it's something you can think of when it comes to purchasing. But of course, ensure you do the right due diligence when it comes to land buying. And that brings us to the end of KTN Business Today. My name is Abi Agina. Coming up next is Mashirima Kapombe with the day's news on